Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Annie, this is Stanley, and we're here to talk about books. And this video series is my take on the very popular Unhaul project. And in my version, I use a spinner wheel loaded with all of the least appealing books on my TBR. And once a month, I pick 3 of them randomly and give them 50 pages to hook me in, at which point I decide whether to read them or yeet them. So that's basically it. Welcome to Read It or Yeet It. So much like last month, there isn't actually going to be a spinner wheel selection of books in this episode of Read It or Yeet It, I'm afraid. But I promise, the spinner wheel will be back in rotation. Hey, see what I did there? Next month. And Read It or Yeet It will go back to randomly selecting the books on the spinner wheel. This month, though, I am freely admitting that I am trying to finish Herkid 2.0, the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do, and I am using my Read It or Yeet It episode for the month to tick off the last few prompts that I need to complete. So, we are where we are. First of all, I have Our Holiday by Louise Candlish, and the prompt that I need to finish this one with is the make a quote prompt, where you have to pick a quote and then find books for each word of the quote. And my quote is, "Fear is the price of our instrument," which is Hannibal Lecter talking about imagination, and this is fulfilling our in the quote. So going into this, and why it's on Read It or Yeet It, is I'm a bit apprehensive about it because I've only read one of hers before, which was strongly recommended by someone who later told me that they didn't like this one. But then I didn't really like the one that they recommended to me, which was Our House, I think, which also would have fulfilled the prompt if it hadn't been that I'd read it several years ago. So I don't know. It's a thriller, I'm pretty sure. It's something to do with a holiday destination and bad things occurring to people when they're on holiday. And that's about all I know about it. So I'm going to give it a try. I'm hoping it's going to be quite a speedy read, not a difficult read, and that it will keep me gripped till the end. But I guess we will find out in 50 or so pages. So I'm 50 pages in to Our Holiday by Louise Candlish, and it is about a holiday destination. It's a coastal village where the residents are struggling because there are a lot of second homeowners who've bought or built or renovated really fancy houses up on the cliff and in other various places in the town, and they're only there during August or very occasionally throughout the rest of the year, and the residents are feeling disadvantaged because there's a housing crisis and they can't get cheap or reasonable places to live whilst these rich holidaymakers are swanning about in their fancy houses and only there some of the time. So we've got quite a few viewpoint characters, and they're on both sides of the conflict. So we have some residents and we have some holiday makers, and none of them are likable. It's one of those books where nobody is likable, but that doesn't mean I'm not enjoying it. I am getting through it pretty quickly. It's quite compelling. I want to find out what happens, even though I don't like any of the characters. I'm interested to see what happens with the story and where the conflict goes, and who ends up winning out. It opens, it was like page 2, with one of the summer houses falling off the cliff onto the beach and being utterly destroyed. So that was quite an opener. And I am quite keen to find out how that happens and who is responsible. So definitely carrying on with this one. No yeeting at this stage. Stanley.
Oh!
So I've now finished Our Holiday by Louise Candlish, and yeah, I enjoyed it. It was pretty good. It kept me gripped towards the end. It had a lot of interesting twists and turns that kept me guessing. I came up with various culprits for the main crime, and I was wrong several times. And then I did eventually figure it out, but not until right close to the end. None of the characters got any more likable, really, but there were some interesting subplots, and I was invested in what happened, and yeah, pretty much enjoyed it. I'm not entirely sure how I felt about the ending. After all of the massive drama and the ramping up of everything, it felt a bit nothingy, so that was a bit of a disappointment. But overall, good read. Kept me going on long train journeys, which is always good. I'm giving it 3.5 stars. Next, we have The Price of Salt by Patricia Highsmith, and this one is also fulfilling part of the make a quote prompt for Herkyed with price, and that will finish off that square for me, which is going to be excellent. And I have heard of this one. I had heard of it before. I looked up books with price in the title, which is why I picked it, because I did find it interesting and I was quite keen to read it. This edition is very weird, though. It's a very weird size. The margins are very big, and the back looks as though it's a photocopy of the back of a book. So there's something a bit dodgy about this edition, I think, which is a little bit off-putting. But I am intrigued. I know very little about it, apart from the fact that it is a lesbian love story. And yeah, it was published in 1952, so I think that's going to be interesting. And I guess we'll see how it goes.
Maybe you need to give him a bit of a run-up.
Yeah. Okay. Yay! Well, now.
So I'm 50 pages in of The Price of Salt by Patricia Highsmith, and I don't know. I am finding the edition quite off-putting. There's a lot of typos. There's a lot of formatting errors. There's obviously something very weird about this edition of the book. But I don't think it's wholly the formatting's fault that the dialogue is quite confusing. It's often difficult to figure out who's actually talking, even when there's only two people in the conversation. It's also quite weirdly heavy and awkward to hold. And yeah, it's not wildly compelling, although I am interested in knowing what happens. It's a bit of a weird combination of being incredibly mundane and a bit dreary. There's a great quote, because the mundanity and the dreariness is quite relatable. There's a quote about the soldier stuff of life being, you know, what time it is and what's on your to-do list. And I thought that was quite good. But there's also a definite tension. There's like a sense of foreboding, as though something terrible is going to happen, and I'm kind of waiting for that to happen. I'm finding Therese, the protagonist, a bit frustrating. I mean, she's only 19, so that mitigates things a bit, but I don't know, the way that she's reacting to things and the decisions that she's making, I'm finding quite difficult to get to grips with. And it's just, I do want to know what happens, assuming something does happen. She starts the book working in a department store, and she's in a relationship with a man called Richard, but she's not fantastically happy. What she really wants to be doing is set design for theatre. So she has plans and ambitions, but she's not able to realise them yet. And then just before I stopped reading, around the 50-page mark, a woman called Carol comes into the store to buy something from Therese, and Therese is just completely blown away by her, an instant attraction, and becomes quite obsessed with her. So yeah, something did happen just before I stopped, but I don't know, it's not wildly compelling, but I guess I am going to carry on. I'm going to carry on, Stanley. Sorry, I don't get to yeet this one, at least not yet. Yeah, so I'm hoping that it will get better as it goes along, and that more interesting things will happen in the rest of it. It's not very long, so hopefully it's not going to take me that long to get through. Anyway, so yeah, I'm going to go off and try and finish this giant weird edition of this book.
Pop the shot in. There we go. That's what you want to think. There we go. Good boy.
So I finished The Price of Salt by Patricia Highsmith, and I think I should have let Stanley yeet it at the 50-page mark, to be honest. I did finish it, but it didn't get any more interesting. Therese didn't get any less frustrating. Not a huge amount happened. I mean, bits of it were quite interesting, I suppose, but... And then about 10 pages before the end, there was suddenly massive amount of twists and turns in Therese's mind as she was thinking about what she wanted to do and trying to decide out of several options. But I didn't think any of the options were good. All of her relationships in this book seemed very problematic and weird, and all of the dialogue was very stilted. There was a lot of incredible awkwardness. It was very painful to read in places, and none of it felt like real conversations that real people would have. It was very weird, and none of the options that she comes up with to make her decision at the end were good in my view, and certainly not the one she picked. There was a particular point that was the main motivation for her making the choice she made. Sorry, I'm a bit convoluted because I'm trying not to spoil it, although it is pretty much spoiled on the back of this book, which is very annoying. But what was I saying? Yeah, I don't think any of the choices were good. And there was one particular moment when she was trying to make the decision that led her to the choice that she made, that's right, which just made no sense and was completely wrong. So yeah, I didn't enjoy this in the end. And for being a short book, it took me a very long time to read it. It was not a quick read. So yeah, a bit disappointed in this one. And Stanley, we're going to yeet it now. I'm giving it 2 stars. Did let me finish the make a quote square for Her Kid, so that's at least one thing to be said for it. Although that is a bit unfortunate as the only good thing I can say about a book I've read. Anyway, so yes, come on, Stanley. Try not to. You're kind of falling off the beanbag there, sir. And this is quite a big book, so you've got to be careful. Oh, I think this might be a really bad idea, but I don't want it anymore. We'll go that way. Go that way. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yes. It's gone. Nice one. Good on you, Stanley. So yes. Unfortunate conclusion for The Price of Salt. And for our third Read It or Yeet It book this month, I have picked Dinner at the Homesick Restaurant by Anne Tyler, because I don't actually have to read this at all anymore. I was going to use it for one of the buzzword prompts for a keyboard key word in the title. I was going to use home for the home key on a keyboard. And then I picked a different book for that. And so this has been released from its reading challenge requirements, but it's been on and off my TBR a few times recently. And I just thought, if I just stick it back on the shelf, I'm never gonna, because I've kind of not got round to it multiple times when it's been on the pile, I'm never gonna want to pick it up again. So I ought to read it now and get it out the way. So no reading challenge prompts for this one. Not had that for a book for a while, but I'm gonna give it a try and see what happens. So I'm about 50 pages into Dinner at the Homesick Restaurant, and I can't do it. I use this word a lot, I think, but it really does apply to this. This is so dreary. I have read several Anne Tyler books before and really enjoyed them. But this one, you know, it starts with the protagonist on her deathbed and then goes back to much earlier on in her life and presumably tracks through what happens up until the point where we started. And because I know where it was ending up with her dying, and the beginning of the story of her history was really dreary and depressing as well. I don't think I'm that interested to know how we get there, and it's a pretty depressing end. It's a lot of summary as well, very little direct action. It's just kind of tracking through her marriage and her having her kids and then her husband leaving her. And I'm just not feeling it. I'm not connected to any of the characters. There's very little emotion in the book. And it's just like listing summary exposition of what's been going on. So, nah, I'm done. I'm done. But at least I've got it off the shelf now. Wasn't a great conclusion for this book, but it's not going to sit on the shelf and stare at me anymore. And look at him. He's all excited. Come on then, Stanley. This one's going to be easier to yeet than the other one. Oh. You can do it. Hey. Hold on. Oh, don't yeet the teacup. Don't yeet the teacup, Stanley. We want to keep that. Anyway, so there you go. That is Read It or Yeet It for this month. Not a great selection, if I'm honest. We had a 3.5 star for Our Holiday, a 2 star and a post-completion yeet for The Price of Salt, and an early yeet for Dinner at the Homesick Restaurant. So, not particularly successful this month, unfortunately. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed this video regardless, and that you will come back and see us again in another video very soon. Please do like the video if you liked it, more than I liked the books I read in it. And subscribe if you want more content of me and Stanley yeeting books off screen. Yes, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye for now.